The mood around Wrigley is pretty bad. It's one thing to slump at the plate, but to play so poor defensively, to be so bad on the bases, to do all these little things poorly with a manager kind of known for that, that's been as perplexing as anything.
Well, I'll start here. Bad seasons can still be interesting. Let's talk to Jesse Rogers from ESPN, at Jesse Rogers ESPN. If you want to give him a follow, we'll post some of these clips from the combo we're about to have. And Jesse, great to see you. Let's start with the Chicago Cubs. I feel like we're at the point where, Cubs fans and writers, et cetera, will look at this series and be like, well, they got a game from Milwaukee. I'm like, that's not going to get it done. So where are we at with this team? And what did you learn from Jed Hoyer's comments, GM of the Cubs, a few days ago?
Yeah, I mean, Craig Counsell's being a little bit more diplomatic about things, but Jed Hoyer, as executives are, pretty clear about what has to happen this month for them not to change directions by the trade deadline. What's interesting, though, is they don't have a lot of players, veterans on last year's of their deals. Kyle Hendricks would be the one, and I'm not sure he's pitching well enough to be traded. He also has a no trade now that he's 10-5. So they don't have a lot of guys that are pending free agents to move. If they make deals, it could be guys under contract for other guys under contract just to mix things up. But that's for later in the month. It's just been awful. 2 months of really bad offense. That's really been the whole thing with the Cubs. Now, in the meantime, while their offense has slumped, they haven't been able to gobble up some wins in other ways, like getting some bullpen help or winning a game or two on the bases, for example, or getting creative at the plate and scoring some runs when your team is still slumping. Like, they haven't been able to do any of these sort of controllables because, as you guys know, and Kip, you were here at the end of the run of this last Cub team that made the playoffs, won the World Series. It feels a little bit like that. Like, sometimes you just don't hit and you can't figure out why. That's what happened with the Rizzo, Baez, Bryant group. Now, they accomplished a lot before they started this to slump and were broken up. But last year, this offense was 6th in scoring. They're 21st now, and no one can figure out exactly why because it's the same group, and they've included Michael Busch, who is producing a ton better than their first baseman last year. So other than catching, that has slumped big time. Yan Gomes had a great year last year. He was DFA'd recently, but they picked up the slack at first. But around the diamond, almost every veteran player is having a below season compared to their career OPS. It's been quite amazing.
Too bad. So sad. All right, Jesse. So how sad are you about this as the Cubs, fan and Cubs apologist? How sad are you about this? And what's the mood around Wrigley these days? And will I get a smile on my face when you tell me?
I am not sad. I am not happy. I am a reporter, AJ. You know that.
You are a Cubs reporter, and therefore you ride or die with the team.
Yeah. The mood around Wrigley is pretty bad. Pretty bad. Of course, as you guys know, that they're still drawing, but there were some boos last homestand. And if you check out social media, you don't want to do that if you're a current player because it's pretty bad. You saw Justin Steele, his outburst on Saturday. So finally this bubbled over in a public display coming off the mound after a just terrible inning defensively. And that's what I'm trying to get at. It's one thing to slump at the plate because I can't figure it out. It's hard to figure out those things, but to play so poor defensively, to be so kind of bad on the bases, to do all these little things poorly with a manager kind of known for that, that's been as perplexing as anything. So, yeah, the mood around Wrigley's awful. I mean, I had the Cubs and Reds, AJ, fighting it out for first place back in March. They're fighting it out for last place. Terrible reporting, right? So it's pretty bad because it's been so unexpected.
I mean, that was your homer pick, but what can we do, Jesse? All right, so but that brings me to Counsell. Counsell was brought in on a huge contract to fix all these things, make them better. Little things, base running, defense, pitching, handling the pitching staff. Has he been handed a bad lot by the ownership and by Jed Hoyer? I know Counsell's getting some heat, but when does Jed Hoyer start getting a little bit of heat for putting this team together? Because right now it looks like, you mentioned there's not a lot of trade prospects out there. So when is he going to start getting heat? Because like I said, Counsell's getting it already.
Yeah, no, Jed's getting heat. He's getting heat first time in a dozen years here that Jed Hoyer is getting some heat. I think he's got 1 year left on his deal next year. So we'll see what ownership, thinks about this thing. But they should be better. They should be better. I'm not saying they're a World Series team, but they should be better than this. The one argument I would have with Jed, and again, these are things you guys can speak to, is they don't have a lot of star power. They don't have a lot of star power. Without star power, I think your variance is greater. With a couple stars in the middle, I don't think you can go from 6th to 21st as easily. So they may have misread this offense. We'll see. But the facts are the facts. They did finish 6th in scoring. Now, as far as Council is concerned, it is interesting that they're worse on the margins. Now, part of me thinks that Craig is, sitting back a little bit and kind of watching this thing. But I go through the history of this thing, AJ. You were around this club. Lou Piniella won his first year. Dusty Baker won in his first year. Joe Madden won in his first year. And I mean, they went to the postseason in their first year. So you can't be laying in the weeds too long. Now, none of these coaches are Craig Councils. I think he's just getting to learn the front office. So maybe he hasn't put his fingerprint on this team just yet. But I think there's enough, when you're in last place, there's enough criticism to go around and a lot of focus on both Craig and Jed, to be honest.
Hey, tell the Ricketts family I'm available. They need someone to come in and clean it up. Thank you.
You're wearing blue. I see you're wearing blue.
Very
exactly.
festive.
Does look good on you.
Right on
Does look
cue.
good on you. Jess, where do they go from here then? If this the train that they're on kind of continues, and obviously you hit it on it earlier where, listen, there's baseball where it just becomes tough to hit sometimes. Their lineups just don't kind of pan out. You could ask the Cardinals probably last year and even a little bit this year with Arenado and Goldschmidt, and it's like just some guys have down years, and it's more accentuated when it's everybody in the lineup. But if they're staying in last place or fighting for last place with the Reds right now, what pieces do they have at all to get rid of, to get anything back for? Because I don't see them as buyers, right? No. There's no reason to be.
No, it'd be one of those deadlines where they're working for the future as much as the here and now, because they do have guys under contract. I mean, Bellinger could be a free agent. It's one of those deals. Does he opt out? Does he opt in? So that's the one area you're not sure of. There's a few relievers. Mark Leiter Jr., if he gets healthy, would be worth something. Otherwise, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Dansby Swanson, all under contract. But I could see Jed changing up the dynamic. I mean, there's only 2 times a year you talk trades in serious manner, July and, of course, November, December. It's not like you're talking trades 12 months a year. So here's a chance maybe they do trade Ian Happ for Vlad Guerrero, just giving you some names, or maybe they mix up the middle of the infield or something. So Kip, it could go any direction. It could happen now. It could happen in the offseason. But what I think he wants to know for sure is, did I misread this offense? Did I misread it? Was last year an anomaly, and this is the real offense? So I think he's gonna know more even just a month from now, let alone 3 months. They need to go get a star. They dip their feet in the water with Ohtani. Maybe they go after Soto, because the great teams have great players. Once in a while you can win with a nice 26-man roster, but usually you need some stars. So Kip, I think he's going to be on the lookout for finding for a star or two, whether it be this July or in the offseason.
I don't think it's just the offense. Did they maybe misread this bullpen too out of spring training? Could they have addressed it a little bit more? I feel like that might have used another arm or two going into the year, and they never got around to signing that piece.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. They've always been pretty good at sort of developing some relievers on the margins, but it's a risky proposition. Sometimes you pay for a guy and he doesn't pan out, and actually Hector Neris might be in that category right now. He's making $9 million. He hasn't worked out as a closer, but he's miscast in that role. They didn't fortify enough. Now, a bunch of guys have gone down, but I think that's partly because they lead the league in one-run games. So every night there's stress on the bullpen, every single night, especially These aren't 10-9 games. These are 4-3 games. So they're getting no separation with their offense and forcing these guys into tight spots every single night. So, no, he didn't do enough. You're right. They thought they could develop it, and maybe some guys have come up in the second half, but they're losing games now, Kip. The only difference I'll say, and I know you guys don't want to talk money, but I don't like blaming middle relievers that are making the minimum who were picked up off of the release waiver, waiver wire. compared to guys making 20 million that are just not producing. So I focus more on the offense than I do the bullpen, which was sort of put together. But that's on Jed. That's on Jed for spending cheaply and not fortifying on the back end.
All right, we've got the NASCAR crew with us today. It's Kipnis and Pruzinski. Alana Rizzo is going to join them on Sunday. So for anyone that's been seeing that little pop-up graphic at the bottom of your screen over the last couple of weeks, to get your tickets now at NASCARchicago.com. The Chicago Street Race is going down this weekend, and it has a lot to do with the entertainment experience as well. Keith Urban's going to perform, the Chainsmokers, the Black Keys. FT's performing on Sunday. You guys excited? You pumped?
I am. I'm just hoping the rain holds off, because last year I was at this thing and it rained and rained and rained. So
Is there
85 and sunny. 85 and sunny.
There
perfect.
you go,
Thank
baby.
you. Because I don't know, Kip, if you went last year, but
I didn't, but I
last
remember
year-
it being rained out.
last year was like a monsoon, so it was like, what are you going to do? So no, I'm just hoping it's sunny, and if it is, it's going to be an awesome day, and it's going to be cool to see those cars going around Millennium Park and that whole deal. But I'm looking forward to it. The only question is, what am I supposed to wear, Kip? Like, what do I wear to this thing?
Shorts and a t-shirt, I think.
Yeah, FT shirt.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Just
keep
wanna
it
make
keep
sure
it
my
keep
fashion-
it casual.
fashion-
You're gonna be schwitzing a little bit in that 85 and sunny by the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we're in a covered space.
We'll get you some coverage.
Like, can we get Claudia
bit
to
of
hold
shade.
up an umbrella over me and Kip while we're talking?
Would you like a pina colada as well?
Yeah, that'd be now. See, now
Can we
we're
get
talking.
AJ one of
about-
those one of those neck fans?
Yes, yes. The thing that looks like headphones and it just blows right
Yeah.
on you.
The mic would pick that up, so that's too far. Okay, but maybe we can get you a little umbrella and a little drink with an umbrella. That's
Yes.
the best that we can potentially do. Alana Rizzo is going to join those two, and you'll see them on Sunday, July 7th, either in person or 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 o'clock East Coast Time on FT. We'll stream it as we always do. That'll be on the FT YouTube channel. Make sure you get your tickets at NASCARchicago.com. We're
It's a
swinging
great
back.
time.
Yeah, it's a good time. These two will be great. And they'll have some guests too, including some drivers that will be on the FT hot seat.
Let's go to the other side of town. And the White Sox. The White Sox weren't supposed to be any good this year, and they're living up to every expectation we could have ever thought what they were going to be. But there was an article recently where Chris Getz said he's getting advice from Jed Hoyer. As a White Sox fan, do I want that?
Well, not these days, because I guess Jed's not. They're good friends. They live near each other. Jed's a veteran of these things, so I don't think it's a bad thing to get a little advice from your colleagues. I don't think the teams are going to make a trade or anything in the near future. But look, Getz's first year on the job is a monumental task to strip this down and make the right deals for the future, because that's what this is. You only get one crack at it with Gary Crochet. You only get one crack at it with Fetty or Michael Kopech or whoever, and then you have to live with those deals. So the amount of transactions he's going to make over a 12-month period is going to be astounding as he rips this thing down to its shreds and starts it back up. And they haven't even reached the bottom yet. And look how bad they are on the field. So it's going to be very interesting.
What are we expecting from the White Sox? I mean, Crochet gone, Robert gone, Kopech gone, Fetty gone. What are the moves that they can make, and what do you expect to get back for these players? Because if they get rid of all those guys, why not throw in Vaughn? Why not throw in a Sheets? Why not just – I mean, you already said strip it down to nothing, but, I mean, they're, 21 and 61? I forget exactly what their record is, but they already by far have the worst record in baseball. It can't get much worse, can it?
No. I mean, obviously, if they go with all young players, I mean, I guess it can't get worse. You're right. Maybe those young players will provide some energy. I think here's what gets us thinking, basically, and I don't have this, sourced or anything, but I think anybody that has 3 years or less of team control is on the block. Like, if you're starting over, you want to get guys with 6 years of team control. So as silly as it is to trade Garrett Crochet as opposed to signing him up long-term, they're probably going to trade him. He's 2 years and 2 months away, 3 months away from free agency. I think Vaughn and Benintendi and these guys are all available. I think they're all available.
First of all, whoa. Nobody's trading for Benintendi. He's owed like $50 million. So listen, he's a nice player, but no one's trading for him unless the White Sox eat money, and the White Sox don't do that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the 2 seasons he's had with the White Sox have been terrible, so the White Sox would have to eat it. But what I'm saying is everybody's available that's within 3 years of being a free agent, because he's starting over, and I don't think he wants to do anything in between. He is just stripping it down. And the irony of that is Jerry Reinsdorf, in his press conference last year when he hired Chris Getz, said he hired someone from within because he figured that would be the quickest way to a turnaround because he knows the organization. Getz is doing the exact opposite of a quick turnaround. He's starting over. So I think they should sign all those starting pitchers. I mean, Crochet's 24, for God's sakes. But you'd probably have to hand them $100 million. They've never done that in the history of the franchise. So, yeah, anybody within earshot of arm's length of free agency could be moved this July.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the questions. That was the next question was, didn't they say it was going to be a quick turnaround because Chris Getz knew the organization and they would, he can just fix it really quick because he knows all the prospects and all that. That hasn't worked out very well because now he's bringing in prospects from other organizations. But Crochet, speaking of Crochet, is he on an innings limit? Because nobody will talk about it. He's already over 90. He's never sniffed 90 innings at any point in his career. And here we are, not even to the All-Star break. He's over 90 innings. If he gets traded to another team, is there a possibility he could say, well, yeah, I only have 120 innings. And, oh, by the way, I'm at 119 and 2/3?
Absolutely. I think that there was one report that said, if they trade him to another team, that team would want to sign him up right away, or Crochet would want to get signed up. So then he's not worried about injury. I think there's the other possibility of reducing his innings by sticking him in the bullpen a little bit. Left-handed flamethrowers can be useful anywhere. So I think Crochet in the bullpen, if he hits some innings limit, is a possibility as well. But look, you're trading for 2 years as a starter and whatever else you get in the final 2 months. I think teams will take that and deal with the innings limit as it comes, or maybe they do offer him a deal and he signs it right away. I wouldn't worry about that if I was an opposing team because, again, you're getting him for 2 more years and maybe even longer if you sign him up.
Yeah, but if you're making this trade, you're also making it for this year to try to win this year because why not? So you're not going to trade for him and then be like, go pitch an inning every third day out of the bullpen. Like, you're making this trade for a guy that's a starter. So that doesn't make sense because you're going to be giving up so much for whatever you're going to give up to get Garrett Crochet. Why on earth would you make that trade and be like, he only has 20 innings left, we're going to save him in the bullpen? No, if I make this trade, whatever team makes a trade, or Dodgers, whoever it is, and they say, we want him, you're going to have to give up so much. And I know he has 2 more years, but you also want to win this year.
Yeah. No, it's a fine line. It's a tough needle to thread there for sure. The White Sox have started to reduce his pitch count a little bit here and there as we approach the deadline, but that's going to make the deal a hard one because of what you're just talking about. The White Sox want full value, and the opposing team might say, well, we might use him sparingly in the final 2 months or something like that out of the bullpen. We're not going to give you 3 top prospects. We'll give you 2. That's the negotiating part of this thing that I don't know how it's going to end up. But I don't think a team's going to hold back just because he's a first-time starter. I think they're still going to go for him because he's that good.
Okay, last one. Is Pedro Grifol safe? Is he safe, and should he be safe? Because
I think he's safe to the end of this year, barring another meltdown. Remember, he called the team effing flat a few weeks ago. I think that was poorly timed. You have to understand what you're dealing with, and he was dealing with a team that wasn't as talented as even last year, obviously. So unless he loses the room, and another outburst would probably do that, I think he's safe to the end of the year. But I think there's going to be a change as they bring up some young players and start this thing over. At that point, I think it's going to be completely up to Chris Getz if he wants to make a change, whether it be at the end of this year or at the end of Grifol's contract, which would be 1 more year. But I don't think Pedro Grifol is safe long-term, no.
Okay. Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of talk about this White Sox team over the next few weeks because there are not many sellers at the moment.
Well, next time when we want to talk White Sox, we'll call Merkin or Joe Cowley or Mark Gonzalez. We'll call a White Sox insider.
Two of those guys are retired, but okay.
That was kind of my point. That was my point, Jesse.
Wake them up off the beach. Well, you know what? I'll finish our segment saying this because I know the White Sox have definitely taken their hits. The Fetty signing was brilliant. They are going to get a lot for him.
Yes,
I
agree.
Give them that credit, okay? Even DeYoung probably will get you a little piece because he's had a nice year.
All right,
But Fetty is going to be one of the prizes if he stays on track here the next few weeks because of the lack of options, at least for now. We'll see. So, Jesse, great to talk to you. Appreciate the time as always. Look out for Kipnis and AJ. They're taking over Chicago this weekend, okay?
Well, you got 2 out of 4 Glenbrook North alums right here. Kipnis and I went to the same high school, so, pretty good.
I did not know that.
That makes sense.
Spartans.
Thanks, Jesse.
Good
Appreciate
seeing
you,
you, Jess.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.